Hello, everybody. Welcome to From the Hangar podcast. I'm your host, Lem Malabuyo, and we are sitting in a hangar. And we have two planes behind us, a couple of 206s from MAF, and the other planes are right now being flown either for test flights or for training. So you guys get to have these ones. I got left behind this time. One of the things you guys have noticed is that we have pilots and we have mechanics, but we also have teachers on staff that we recruit. Is recruit the right word? That we invite people to join our ministry, and and so it was really neat. We had an opportunity to have one of the teachers from Papua come back. She just finished her two-year assignment out there, and she was willing to sit down with us and have a conversation. So this is Sheri. Sheri, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of just tell us your background and what kind of got you into teaching.
So I'm Sheri Sanders. I'm from a small town in northwest Indiana, very rural area, farming. Grew up there my whole life. Was raised Catholic and went to public school and started college and kind of life got in the way and started my family, got married, and so I didn't go back to school until I was a little bit older for my teaching degree. And so I didn't start teaching till I was 30, and I happened to get a job in my public school that I went to school in.
Really?
And then I taught there for 20 years. Same grade, same building. My first principal too, when I was there as a teacher, he was my principal too when I was in school. So that was kind of neat. Small town, you can get that. And spent the whole 20 years in the same classroom. Met a lot of great people, still friends with today. And kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, I want to serve in a different way, and started mission trips. And I came across, we did a field trip to our local, very small county airport. And it was really hot that day. It was in May. It was about 6 years ago. And there was, I can't remember exactly. I wish I could remember, but I got a brochure from MAF. And so I'm assuming it was a pilot, an MAF plane, and it said, MAF teacher. So it's like, wow, getting into the missions, I would serve at church and things like that, but I just wanted to do something a little bit more in my field, use my gifts that God had given me, the teaching aspect of it. So it took probably about 6, 7, 8 months before I reached out to MAF and got a hold of Chrissy Rask. She got back with me, and we just kind of went back and forth for a few years. Life gets in the way. I took care of my aging parents, and then finally it just came to the point where it's like, okay, I think it's time. Like I said, put it off, and it put it off, but it wasn't in God's plan, for me to do that right away. I was still, I had re-entered the path of Christianity, and like many people, I kind of veered off and had put other things first.
Sure.
So, and it was like the beginning of March, and reached back out to Chrissy because we'd been in contact all those years back and forth, kind of seeing if it was the right time, where would I be needed. And so I emailed her and said, do you need me? And she's like, yeah. And so we started the process, and it was like the beginning of March, and I was here in Nampa and ready to leave in August. So,
it's interesting to hear you talk about like leading up to being involved with MAF, because there was, like you said, like the timing wasn't right, or just in God's timing, really.
Yeah.
But you're the second person in 2 consecutive episodes that grew up in a Catholic home. At what point did Paul in last episode was talking he came to like the Protestant or the evangelical faith of in his 50s, and I kind of just, like, if you don't mind, like, at what point did you start kind of thinking about like the evangelical faith in Jesus?
Probably about 15, 20 years ago. So,
Okay, yeah.
like growing up Catholic, it was church every Sunday. It was catechism on Wednesdays,
Sure.
made my profession and all those things. And I'm a believer.
Yeah.
Just, their way of doing things was
Right.
different. And I
Yes.
started not, I guess not understanding why they did the things they did.
Okay.
So, and as I mentioned, I got married and I had a family, and my path just kind of stalled, if you will.
Sure.
And I put my children first. And it was probably about 10 years ago. Message from my pastor was about, the order in which things go. And it's like, I've been doing it wrong all these years, So that's when I really got serious about getting on the right path. And
but that is a common pitfall with believers. Like there's always priorities that we tend to want to put over God, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds good when you say like, I wanted to really like pour into my children to the point where like they become more important to me than Jesus.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you look back on that, and you just think like about that sermon that pastor was saying.
Yeah.
Kind of a way that God was saying like, come back to me, come back to me. And I mean, it's good that you love your children. Like don't
Right.
don't negate that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there are, I'm the most important thing that should be in your life, and everything kind of like trickles down from there. And because God loves children too, and so anyway, so that's just it is really interesting, and I just wanted to make sure that like, people like I guess just it makes it resonates with me what you were saying. So,
and like I just feel a lot of people do that. You put your children first, and not that God isn't important, but
right
at the time when they're growing up, I just feel like that was the most important thing. And so so then it was kind of the realization of okay.
Yeah.
They are important. I do love them, but
Yes.
I need to put my focus where it belongs. And so like taking care of my parents and things like that, serving, it was all those things that, they had to play out and God's plan. And, one thing that I've learned, I'd say in the last 5-10 years is patience. So I'm a very scheduled, routine person. Being a teacher, most of us are, but waiting and seeing how God's plan unfolds was very challenging for me. So my time in the field helped with that too.
That's cool.
Learning patience, and it's like, okay, it's not my time, it's his time, and I have to be patient and see how this unfolds. And it has led to a lot of great things.
That's cool.
It's opened up new opportunities for me also here back in the States. So I'm pretty excited about that. But
well, let's dive into like your time with MAF. When you connected with Chrissy and you started that process, did you know where you were going from the get-go, or
no? She had told me, Chrissy had mentioned, where I was needed, but I went into it too saying, where am I needed? I wasn't about to say, I would like to go here, I would like to go. It wasn't. It's not like that. It's where am I needed, because that's what I want. I wanted to help. I wanted to serve, but it's not my terms. So I was needed in Wamena. So that's what we focused on.
Yeah.
And the process was a little overwhelming in that very short time. But MAF was great with helping me, get everything in order and getting out into the field. So I was able to travel with another new teacher, and which was nice because I'd never traveled that kind of distance by myself. So that was nice having a companion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you been overseas to a third world country before?
I've went to 2 different mission trips in Haiti. So, with my church, and we were fostering relationships with different orphanages.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was a few years ago when it was when it was a little bit different.
Sure.
So which is really what kind of where I got my inspiration to do mission work.
Right. Did you know MAF was in Haiti at the time you were in Haiti?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No.
You're
So
like, oh man, I could have flown with MAF out there.
I know. Probably would have been better.
Yeah. So when you heard that you were going to like Indonesia and like you were going to be teaching in this school in Wamena, like did that make sense to you? Like, did you know where that was on the map or anything like that? Or
I did not. So what most of us do this day and age, I Googled it. You don't get a lot of information about Wamena when you Google it. And some of it too is kind of like, whoa. But I did find on Google Maps, they actually have a picture of the school, which was nice. So kind of in my mind, I had pictured one room school, and because I would be teaching multiple levels.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a one room school. It was actually a very nice school.
Yeah.
We had like 3 rooms. So, and we did, my first year I worked with students grades 1 through 6.
Okay.
And then I also had a teacher who is Indonesian, which was very helpful.
Oh, that's cool.
And she worked really well with the younger kids. And it would have been really challenging if I didn't have her to help. And then my second year, it was pretty much pre-1 through 7th grade.
Okay.
Her and I also still kind of taking on the load.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it took me a while to being in public school for 20 years in the same exact classroom. It took me a while to kind of get a system down and a schedule to teach multiple levels. But it was very rewarding, and
That's cool. That's great to
the
hear.
children showed me a lot of grace, which was great. I think one thing I didn't mention, I had, how many students? I think I had about 8 students the first year. Okay. And then I finished off with 12 this year. So,
yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what were some differences there? I mean, like, it's a stark contrast between, like everything, like your whole career being in one grade and probably a larger class, right? Probably like 20.
I always would have like 25 to 30 students every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was different. And then the multiple levels is challenging. Not only, multiple grade levels, but students at multiple levels, within their grades too. So having a little bit of experience helped with that.
Yeah.
I was comfortable. MAF works with Hillcrest International School. So we use a lot of their resources, which was helpful also. So I didn't go there with nothing.
Yeah.
Some people thought too, like I would just be going and just all willy-nilly teaching, but I did have resources to help. So that was nice.
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah. And so it was great. And it's really nice to partner up with Hillcrest for different things like that.
So if you don't mind.
It's okay.
No, it's good.
We'll see.
Like there's a, oh man, now I don't want to ask the question.
No.
But like, can you like explain maybe to the viewers and listeners, like the relationship, or like I guess the geographical relationship between like where Wamena is and like the school there, and like you mentioned Hillcrest, like what, and kind of just what it takes to get to Wamena.
So Wamena is a larger city, and it's in the Baleen Valley, which is kind of in the center of Papua, the island of Papua on the Indonesian side. A lot of people get confused.
Yes,
They're like, Papua New Guinea? No. So, and it's in a valley. And like we're at a high elevation, we're at like about 5,000 feet inside the valley, and but you have the 14,000 foot mountains that surround you. So it's like being in a giant fishbowl. At one point, Wamena was solely provided by air. Everything had to be flown in. I don't know if that's necessarily true to this day. There is a road, but it can take weeks to use that road to get up over the mountains. So MAF, being that they through aviation help in healing and bringing the gospel to remote areas, and this place only being accessible through air, it kind of makes sense. So we have our missionary pilots there and the mechanics and their families, and so they need education for their kids. So we're in this valley, and you can only really get out by air to the next like largest city, which is Sentani, which is where we also have another base, and that is where Hillcrest is located, the main Hillcrest International School. So we're kind of like a little satellite school of them.
Yeah. And Sentani is the city that you can fly from Jakarta
Correct.
to
Yes.
Sentani. And so yeah, so it's a larger hub, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different organizations that work in Sentani, other ministries, right?
Yes,
that kind of base themselves.
and in Wamena also.
Yeah.
So we have, I had the privilege of having students from Heli Mission.
Oh, cool.
Swiss helicopter.
Yeah.
AMA, CMA. So a lot of different organizations are represented,
That's great.
even in the small valley.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What were some like joys or just like things that you look fondly on teaching in Wamena in that context?
So, coming from a public school for so long, I could not bring my faith into the classroom. So, doing that in Wamena with that small group of MKs was truly a blessing. We would have awesome conversations, students, first graders, second graders, and just being part of that and was just truly a blessing.
Yeah.
So and that made me kind of change my whole outlook on where I would want to teach in the future.
Oh, really?
And so that was probably one of the best things. I even had one of my students who decided to be baptized and publicly announce her faith. So that was, I feel like, I don't know if it was me, but I feel like I had a small part in that, and
for sure.
just kind of like I've turned my mission into, helping to raise disciples. So, and, if it's one person at a time, one child at a time, do my part that way.
And it also kind of just like reinforces that idea that MAF always says this, like, we need teachers, right? Like teachers are just crucial to the ministry in a way that you don't really think about too much, right? Because it helps free the missionaries out there to be able to do what they came out there to do. And also teachers are really skilled at education. So like, it's really like for the best interest of the child to like have a person who actually is trained to teach.
Yeah.
and
being that so I've only been to Sentani and Wamena, right? And we have many other remote locations and isolated locations. So I can only speak from that perspective, but on my way from Sentani to Wamena, obviously I flew MAF, and it finally dawned on me. It's like looking at the starkness, except for the rainforest, but it was just rainforest. It's like, oh wow, this is why MAF is here. Yeah. It is isolated. There's no roads. You don't see any roads. You don't see any cities or anything like that. So, noticing that and seeing that, people could tell you can watch the movies, but until you see it and you're like, wow, okay, I understand why I'm here now and why these pilots are here. And so obviously, you have the families, and life is a little bit more challenging, cooking and doing all those things are not, you just can't just go to the fridge and pull something out. You have to make sure everything's clean. And so parents, moms, wives are very busy also, and they take on roles too. So having a teacher in not just Wamena, but any of the remote locations it's really important, because it does alleviate that aspect from parents, so they can concentrate on the mission and why they're there.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. That's awesome.
So.
I mean, you spoke a little bit in those challenges. Did you find yourself in those challenges as well, trying to find food to cook with?
Oh yeah,
and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
lost a lot of weight my first 6 months. However, my MAF team in Wamena was just amazing. They made it feel like home right away, and took me in and showed me the ropes. They were very patient with questions and comments, concerns that I would have, and they were always right there. So I was very blessed
that's great.
that I had such a great team and built some really lasting relationships with the people there.
That's so sweet. I love it.
It's pretty amazing. It was, they always say that they appreciate me coming and teaching, and I'm the one that should thank them that that I had this opportunity, and obviously I have this opportunity through MAF, and it was truly a blessing.
That's cool.
Truly a blessing.
How did your faith grow when you were out there?
I think, so obviously I've had a lot of time to reflect on this. But so I'm single, right? So I'm independent and by myself. And so just a lot of time to just reflect on my faith and what God has done through me and in me, where I'm at in my life, being able to not have so many distractions there to where I could really grow in my faith.
Yeah, that's great.
I feel in the times that I have come back for Christmas and summer and that, it's just, life here is just very, very busy. And so you have to be even more intentional to make time for those things. And so there I was able to, it was easy to make time and reflect and grow.
That's cool.
So
that's special to be able to to see that, like, oh, I have this time, I'm going to spend it with the Lord,
right?
Like, and like, do you feel like you can take that here into the States?
So
like that practice?
It's something that, like, it's in the forefront, of my mind to be very intentional about it. And so reentry, even though I was only in the field for 2 years, I do feel that, coming from the mission field, that it will be a little challenging. And again, just kind of, holding on to those times that I had of solitude with the Word and keeping that and making and just being intentional. And I think that's just the key right there is being intentional.
What are some practices that maybe you found yourself in Wamena doing that you felt were really effective in being intentionally in communion with God?
Devotionals.
Okay.
So I prefer daily devotionals, and that way then I can go into the Word in small segments.
Sure.
So as not to just kind of overwhelm me with too much. So, I mean, it's not a matter of, you have to spend, hours in devotions, it's like just being intentional. And so, like, every morning, that's what I did. It was usually between 5:30 and 6 when I'd have my delicious Wamena coffee and I would get my devotional out. I did, we have women's groups and we have fellowship there in Wamena, which is also just very intentional. I kept in close contact with my life group from back in the States.
Cool.
So I would just make sure that, at 4:30 in the morning I was up so we could, be face to face and do our life group that way. So just little things like that I just kept going and
Well, it sounds, consistency is like a
key.
Sounds like a running theme in those things you just listed, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's key.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been learning too. In recent years. It's like,
we're lifelong learners, remember?
Yes, like, be consistent. Like, it doesn't have to be anything showy or flashy, but if it's consistent, it'll make a difference.
Yeah.
And so, do you feel like your time out there, the 2 years you were out there, was something that really impacted the ministry of MAF?
Yes. Like I mentioned, just my presence as a teacher, just being a teacher out there, allowed the pilots and the mechanics to concentrate on MAF's mission. So at first I tried to, I kind of felt like I wasn't doing enough being a teacher. And so I would, I always offer to help. And whether, it was a basket project or, giving blood or, just trips out to the village or vision trips, with an MAF pilot, just those things personally. And I had someone from MAF, we were talking and I'm like, I just don't feel like I necessarily fulfilling MAF's mission. And I had a shirt on that said "Raising Disciples," and she says, "That's it right there. That's you're doing it. You're fulfilling the mission." And I was like, okay, and that kind of helped me realize too that even just as a teacher,
right,
it's an important role for MAF and to help them and their mission.
Yeah, so. I'm glad you came out of that with that affirmation.
Yeah.
And even just this moment, I started to realize that the teachers that I had when I was a kid. So I just backtrack a little bit. I grew up as an MK in the Southern Philippines too, and that the HIS, like the Hillcrest International School, and the school in Wamena, like that sister school relationship, was very much kind of the same school setup I had in the Philippines.
Wow.
There was like this larger K through 12 school in Manila called Faith Academy.
Okay.
And then in the Southern Philippines in Mindanao, there was another Faith Academy, but it was like a smaller K through 8 school. And so if you graduate 8th grade, you had the choice to go up to the one in Manila. Or you can stay down and homeschool high schools. Anyway, all that to say,
very similar to HIS. So
yeah. But it's fun to kind of think about the context that you were in as a teacher, because the teachers that were a part of the community in the smaller city that I spent my middle school years in are ones that I have teachers that I look fondly on, and I have friends on Facebook, and one was Australian. She came to visit the States one time when I was in college, and so me and my younger brother, who was also good friends with her, like, come visit us, and we'll find a way for you to stay somewhere where you can we can spend time and catch up, kind of thing.
Right.
But it was really neat to kind of relate to her as an adult, after seeing her as a 12-year-old student, kind of thing.
So it's building those relationships that I think that's something that I've really taken away from this, is building those relationships were so important. I FaceTimed one of my students yesterday from Wamena,
that's great.
So I get it. And, I think that's why teachers are important. Not only are we teaching, in education, but yet, we are making an impact on youth.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's a truth that kind of goes, it doesn't even have to be in like a third world missionary context either.
Yeah.
I mean, like my wife was born and raised in San Jose. She has great relationships with her teachers, to this day, that were teachers in her middle school years, which actually kind of baffles me a little bit. Like, man, that's
you do too.
Yeah, so, I know. It's just, it's funny to think, like, why am I giving her a hard time for that? I do the same thing. But teachers are, it's just, they're crucial figures in a child's life, and they carry that through into their adulthood. So,
and it's hard, and so that's one thing that, like, I've had conversations with different people here at headquarters about why is it hard to recruit teachers for the field, because we need them. And so if you know any teachers.
It's funny too, because my wife's mother is a teacher, and she recently retired about 2 years ago, and I was like, you should go overseas.
I'm like, what's her name? It's okay, I'll figure it. I can stalk Facebook and figure it out.
She has very legitimate reasons why she doesn't want to go overseas. But she is a very skilled teacher, and like, I was like, man, MKs or TCKs would be would benefit hugely from your teaching abilities. So, but
and that's it. Sometimes there's medical issues. There's things like that. That I made a lot of sacrifices, and it's for the kingdom, so it's okay. But I made a lot of sacrifices. Going there, I was able to thankfully be able to return, like, on Christmas vacation and summer vacation. But family. I have young grandchildren who I want to help raise them in the kingdom. So so they are calling me back. Maybe in the future I would love to continue and go back wherever I'm needed. It doesn't have to be Wamena, but
I think and also a crucial element to anyone who goes overseas in ministry is, like, God like you should really rely on the time when God calls you to that.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, some people who are really skilled in some kind of career or vocation may not be getting that calling, and they shouldn't just go because you know, it
exactly. It's not an adventure.
Yeah,
you know,
the
I
heart
think
has to be in the right place.
Exactly.
So.
You know, people kind of look at it like, oh, you're going on an adventure. No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but no,
Yeah.
it's not. You know, if I'm going to go on an adventure, I'm going to go to Paris or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have to be. Your heart has to be in the right place, and it's got to be. It's not your plan.
Right.
So I mean, that's why it took so long. I think for me to get into the field, and because it just wasn't. My heart wasn't in the right place at the right time, and God knew that. So
that's cool. God was taking care of you all those years.
Yeah,
So.
and the patience wasn't there. So, but hindsight's 20/20, right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's why. I wasn't.
That's cool.
So
that's cool. So you're gonna stay here in the States. You're not like going for another term.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is too bad. No, I'm giving you a hard time.
No, that's okay. I'm conflicted because it was very, very sad to leave. Again, I made a lot of the relationships that were built were life-changing, and I've already, seen some of them since I've been back, and I've only been back a week. So yeah, it was very sad. Yeah. And, at this point, we don't have a teacher for Wamena for next year. So, homeschool was what had to be put in place for a lot of the families, and it's just challenging and hard for them. And so I almost feel a sense of guilt that it's like, oh, I can't stay one more year, but
I think that that decision and the things that you had to like consider and think and contemplate over, like it does speak to like I think two elements that are. Maybe not elements, two factors, I think you could say. And one of them is teachers are needed, like we talked about that. But also the idea that short-term missions is something that is welcome out there. And there's not there's not this weird pressure that like you have to keep going after the short term, right? Like some people are just called to like, hey, I just want to do this. I only have capacity to do it for a couple of years.
Right.
And when that's done, like you can come back to the States and reconnect with family and turn the page to another chapter in your life.
Right.
And so sometimes I think people might consider like missions, but then like they have doubts about the idea of like, do I really want to commit to something long term? And so, I mean, I guess my next question would be, if someone were to come to you and they were thinking, hey, I want to be like, this teacher overseas thing is intriguing, and I think I might have capacity or desire or calling to do it, but I really don't feel comfortable with going through the process to do 5 years or 10 years or something like that.
Right.
But what would you say to someone like that about your experiences?
Well, like MAF, and I don't know what other orgs do, but MAF, they welcome short term.
Yeah.
Especially with the teachers, knowing that sometimes people cannot commit to long term. Yeah. So you can do year to year even. Oh, okay. So like
that's awesome.
I did 1 year, and then I was there pretty much 2 weeks and decided, I'm going to at least do this one more year.
Yeah.
So, and then I signed on for another year, and so it's very possible to do short term. Yeah. You can also, you can do short term for a short while, for a few years, and then you can move on and do career. But it's very rewarding, which I don't know if that's selfish or not, but it's just very rewarding. And if someone did have the capacity to maybe take time off of where they work now. So I was fortunate enough that I had enough years of experience, enough years in at my public school job where I could take a leave of absence. and then I could continue back.
Oh, that's great.
I'm not going to. Doors opened up and different things happened. So, but I was afforded that luxury, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, do it. It's worth it. It's needed. Teachers are really needed. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything else that we should touch on that you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, I think I covered everything. Again, teachers, we need them, and
yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? There was a question I forgot to ask you.
Oh, no.
Did you ever get to fly? No, it's an easy question. Did you ever get to fly interior?
Oh, yes.
You did.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was amazing. So one time I happened to have a day off school. It was like a fall break or something. I don't know what it was. And they're like, hey, you want to go into the village? We have to work on a hydro. I'm like, yeah, I would love to,
That's cool.
And so did that. Was able to do a medvac with a different mission org, which was really, it was helicopter. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
So, I mean, not only just the experience of doing that, but knowing what you're doing and being able to, get the person out to, at least some type of medical help was pretty cool. Drove into a couple different villages.
Oh, really?
So something that's not far away still takes like 3-4 hours to get to. And if you get motion sick like I do, it really can be very challenging. But so able to drive into a basket village. So there's artisans in the area in the Wamena Valley, and they in the last few years have gotten into making the baskets again. So they go into the rainforest and they get the rattan and they cut it down. Anyways, so so it became my new addiction when I was there, aside from coffee. But so I got to go into the basket village and kind of hang out with them and do some of the like the bakar batu where they cook the food and in the pit, and so I got to experience a lot of those cultural things, which was really amazing because I do like to learn about new cultures.
Yeah.
So
that bakar batu thing is. Like I've never been able to, I haven't been graced with that experience.
Not yet.
But I watched the video on it and I was like, this sounds really cool.
It is. It's really, So, I mean, most of the time I'm just like standing there mouth agape, like this is just so cool, and just seeing a lot of their traditional dress and things like that. And so I was able to go into some of the other areas, and so not as much as some of the other people, but I did get to experience
but you get
that,
to experience it,
which is nice because that then just kind of solidifies why MAF is there,
exactly.
and
why you're there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I did have an opportunity also to help a boy that was medvaced out of a village who was in pretty dire straits, and was able to donate blood. We would go and we'd visit him, and he did end up passing.
I'm sorry.
It was but that just again, it was like, wow, MAF is needed.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's cool.
I really enjoyed my time with MAF, and my experience with MAF was a blessing.
Yeah, that's great. No, and we're really appreciative of you. I think I was even talking to one of the hangar guys here as we were setting this whole thing up, and they're like, "Oh, who's interviewing today, or who's being interviewed today?" And I was like, "Oh, Sheri's gonna be on." They're like, "Oh man, yeah, we really appreciate Sheri." I was like, "Yeah." So
it's kind of like you're a superstar, but teachers usually aren't like that. So, but everybody, a teacher was needed really bad in Wamena when I was, going through the process, and everybody seemed to know who I was, and
That's
it was.
Cool.
I'm kind of actually just very introverted and shy, so it's really hard.
So this is a perfect setting for you, right?
This is perfect. Yes, the lights and
perfect. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
Well, let's. I wanted to throw out some just easy questions about just to get to know you a little bit more. Besides this awesome podcast that you're a part of, what other podcasts do you listen to?
I don't usually listen to too many. So one of the main ones I listen to is 10-Minute Bible Talk.
Okay.
And it usually goes along with what we're kind of studying for my life group that I'm in. So
okay.
So yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Is it like a devotional or what?
They'll go over different books and chapters and verses, and then apply real life to it.
That's
so
cool.
yeah,
That's sweet.
yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And being a teacher, it's like I just need it short, sweet, and to the point sometimes. So.
And what was that like in Wamena? Like, were you able to like listen to the podcast? Was the internet? I guess was the internet okay out there that you could do that?
Yeah, we were very lucky that on our base that internet was really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how I lived. Was
shout out to the IT team
definitely.
out there
And
here.
Yes.
IT is also another
that's a key
role that's very key. That's not your.
There was so many because like tech and like technology and me, we don't really get along. So there were so many times I'd be asking Willem and all the others. It's like, okay, so what do I do for this? So trying to do the 2-step auth
yes. Oh.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but so helpful. They were just so helpful, and they didn't make me feel, embarrassed or anything like that. So yeah, cool. Tech, very important. Yeah. IT, very important too out in the field. Yes.
Okay, cool. Are you, do you read books? What's
yes, I'm more into like historical books.
Okay, yeah.
Or historical fiction. I like history, so like things about World War II and the Holocaust and things like that. I like to read about and read about the history of MAF in Wamena and on Papua. So that was interesting. So
cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Did you read any of the the like Don Richardson books or those ones?
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah, very cool. Well, what about like TV shows or movies? Like, what would be something that you would be like?
I'm not big into movies or TV too much, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's
being
true.
Being that I'm in Wamena and which streaming device can I use? But so yeah, I mean I'm kind of old school with like Friends and The Office and different comedies like that.
It makes me a little sad that you said that The Office is old school. But now I think about it, I guess
it kind of is, isn't it? Yeah.
It is now. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to age you there, but yeah, it is.
Oh man. But those are two classics.
They are. Yeah. I do, and I like some reality TV, which is I know. But
The Bachelorette, right?
No, actually, it's like Life Below Zero, where they live.
Oh wow.
Off grid and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's great. I could never live like that personally. I don't think, but yeah, I do like watching other people live that way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That made me. I'm glad you went that way with the reality TV.
Yeah. Oh no, it was not that Bachelorette or whatever. It was.
Yeah. Right.
Or what?
That's what I watch.
There you go, calling yourself out there.
Yeah. Sure. Well, you mentioned coffee a few times.
Oh yeah.
So we have to talk about coffee.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So were you a big coffee drinker before?
I always liked coffee, but I was I wasn't like this brand or anything like that. But once I went to Wamena, Indonesia, if you know the map, then it's right there. We're about 3 degrees south of the equator. Coffee grows. So, anyways, we had amazing coffee that you could go and watch the beans be sorted and roasted right there, and then you could just
that's the best. That's the best. It's an
amazing
experience.
Yeah, I would bring it back for supporters and my family. And it was good times.
We actually had someone emailed me from Indonesia asking, hey, do you drink coffee? And I'm like, yes, I do. And they're like, great, we have people coming from this team coming here to Nampa. We'll send you a bag of coffee.
Thank you.
And I'm like,
okay.
yes. And then, oh man. And then someone from the DRC actually came back this past week, and he like dropped a bag, and he dropped the bag on my desk, and it was green beans. It wasn't even roasted yet.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, I might be outing some, like, this might be something that is violating some kind of immigration rule. But it was a small bag, so maybe it's okay. But I loved it. I was like, yes, I'm gonna find someone to roast this for me. And I don't know.
So we were one time we were driving from somewhere, and the group I was with, they're like, oh my gosh, there's coffee beans. And so we pulled over, and I got some coffee beans right off. It was just wow, that's so cool. Yeah, you can't do that here.
You cannot. No.
So
no, you always talk about like the roasters here, and then like, okay, where did the beans come from, and then like single origin, and it's
Yeah.
like, and you're experiencing that.
I did. I actually
without-
took my students
yeah.
on a field trip to a roastery. Yeah, it was pretty
man,
cool. It
that
was
is
fun.
so cool.
They didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but
You're like, this is more for me than it is for you.
yeah, it was yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, because I was like, wow, it was like I was like a kid in a candy store, and they're all like, oh.
Like, we can't even drink this.
I know.
'cause we're too young. I don't know what the big
But their
deal is.
parents enjoyed it, so
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, so
Oh,
so
man.
it was good.
It does. Your stories do remind me. There was a time when I was in Ethiopia and we visited this village, and we had to do some interviews with the people there in this hut. But as I was holding the camera up to do these interviews, there was a woman on my right side who was roasting coffee, like right there on this, right there, like
Oh,
right
wow.
in the hut. So the hut was also like getting a little bit of that smoky haze to it.
Yeah.
But I was so distracted by that because I just wanted to watch it.
Yep.
But then she ground it right there, and then like
Yeah.
made the coffee and then handed to me. And
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
I'm trying to be so professional right now, but I have to take this cup of coffee.
I know. So like when we went on that field trip, I'm like, wow, maybe I could do this for a new career if I ever wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever decided to retire from teaching, I could be a roaster.
Yeah,
They
coffee
have
roaster.
schools for it. I did not know that. So
Oh yeah, this the coffee scene has evolved quite a bit. From,
yeah, and then I managed to stop in Seattle on my way here, and so I didn't realize how big the coffee scene was really until I got to Seattle. Even and I was like, okay, here,
Yeah.
this is where it is in
Yeah.
the States. I get it now.
Yep,
Okay.
Seattle and Portland.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the ways. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm
so-
sure everyone really appreciated us talking about coffee on here
Sorry.
right now. Sorry, everybody. Unless you like coffee. Then.
Yeah, then they would get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We waited till the end, so it's okay.
Sherry, thanks so much for coming on here. It's been actually really fun.
Thank you
And
for having me and
yeah.
letting me talk about MAF and teaching in Wamena and the amazing work that MAF does
Yeah.
and being a part of it.
That's
So,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And everyone, thanks again for tuning in. And hopefully this inspires you to maybe seek out a way to contribute to overseas missions. And if you're a teacher or IT, like definitely think about it. I think it's, we need you.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Until then, you take care. Enjoy the summer days that we're entering. So, see you guys.